Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. My name is Dan and I'm here to bring you another FPL video. In this one, we're going to be looking at my Game Week 19 team selection, as well as how I got on in Game Week 18. We'll be doing a brief breakdown of all the points I scored, captaincy, everything else, and then, of course, the team selection for Game Week 19, captaincy, vice-captaincy, possible transfer options. It's all in this video this evening. And, of course, we'll be doing a live stream tomorrow at 3 p.m, 1 hour ahead of the deadline, which is 4 p.m. English time tomorrow. It's a really quick turnaround, so that's why we're only going to have time to do one video this evening based on my team selection. So hopefully you enjoy it. If you're new to the channel and you do like what you see, then do hit that subscribe button for me. Of course, if you are enjoying the content as well, smash that like button. 2023 hopefully is going to be a fantastic year for this channel and the community. I can't thank everybody enough for the support they've shown me. It's been a fantastic 5-month journey in 2022. Only started the channel pretty much in July and we're already at this milestone. So absolutely loving the support and of course enjoying making content for you guys. So let's jump into how we got on this week. And to be honest with you, I am very, very pleased with the output. I think the average score was around 40, 45, something like that. So I'm about 20 points above average, which you always like to see on a week like this, where so many things went wrong for so many people, right? But yeah, we had a really, really strong week overall. It could have definitely worked out a lot better if of course Chelsea kept that clean sheet and we had certain scenarios go our way. But overall, I'm very, very happy with those 65 points. It's meant that I've got a green arrow once again, back-to-back green arrows now, pushing me into to the top 900k of 888k. So very, very happy with that. We started from the World Cup break. We started at 1.5 million, so we've had pretty much like a 600k green arrow over the past 2 weeks, which is absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I didn't take any hits last week. We've now got 2.4 million in the bank to play with, which I'm very happy with. Gives me a lot of flexibility moving into these double game weeks. And yeah, it does. I have only got one free transfer. It's worth noting as I took James out for Botman. But yeah, still very, very happy with how the team has done. So going through from keeper all the way through to bench, then we got 3 points from our goalie. It pretty much matched Ward's output, which is on paper definitely wouldn't be something that we expected. But Forest, fair play to them in the second half. They really, really did deserve that goal. Of course, Chelsea, I think at one point Kepa would have been on for about 10 points based on his saves and the bonus points as well as the clean sheet, but that just wasn't to be. Still happy with his output over these past 2 weeks though, and the choice to start him ahead of Ward. Then, of course, Botman, the transfer in from Reece James, scoring me that wonderful 6-point steady Eddie score. Of course, he did have actually one big chance created by Trippier and could have scored. On a different day, that's a goal. He scores 15 points potentially and Trippier gets a few bonus for that. Cher also, I think, had a big chance as well, also created by Trippier. Again, on a different day, I think, Newcastle win that game 2-3-0 and Trippier's at the heart of it once again. And that pretty much is the reasoning as to why he got the 3 bonus points. Even though he got 1 yellow card in that match, he still comes away with 8 points. The guy is just an absolute machine. It's just, he racks up those bonus points like an absolute monster. And as I mentioned in every single video, he's probably going to be in my team for the remainder of the season. Of course, Luke Shaw, an absolute hero at left centre-back once again, racking up those bonus points for fun. I don't know how he's done it, to be honest. I mean, maybe some people in the community can give me a better insight. I think it might work out on pass completion and like percentages, because obviously from left centre-back, you're never realistically passing or your passes aren't really going to go amiss too much. So when you only win, or your team wins only by 1-0, then of course the chances are your bonus points are going to be quite high. So I'm assuming that's the reasoning, because he didn't actually create too much, of course, being in that left centre-back position, but he scored me 8 and 9 points in the 2 weeks that I've had him. So very, very happy with him as a pick. And that's without, of course, Lisandro Martinez in the defensive line. So, yes, Wolves had opportunities, but we've still come away with a clean sheet. And I think Bournemouth at home is looking even more promising, where I expect he may actually start at left-back should Martinez be returning. So, very happy to own him. Of course, the midfield is where we start with the disappointments. We've got a combined value of over 20 million in 2 of them being Manchester City assets as well, of all things, in De Bruyne and Foden, both scoring me 1 point respectively. I mean, I feel like with KDB, I definitely feel hard done by. Again, I would still take the wins of this week I can't sit here and say that it should have been a 9-pointer for him, but ultimately he's had so many opportunities to provide assists now in the 2 games against Leeds and Everton. These were the 2 fixtures that realistically we wanted as KDB owners for him to explode on, and he pretty much hasn't, right? He got the yellow card in this fixture. It meant only scoring 1 point. John Stones hit the post, of course, from that free kick. He created numerous chances once again that weren't put into the back of the net. So, 12 point something million, it's very difficult to not score points from these guys, but just that's sometimes the toss of the coin, right? I've used that analogy many times on this channel, but that's what it was. I still feel like the reasoning in the decision making was the correct move based on the fixtures and the double game weeks ahead for KDB. So yes, I've missed out on some Salah points, but I still feel like there's plenty to gain owning Kevin De Bruyne moving forward. Phil Foden is just, I think, he's just the risk that just didn't pay off, to be honest. I went with him. I'm chasing rank at the end of the day still, right? I want to move into that top kind of 300, 400k where I may start playing a little bit more reserve to try and finalise that top 100k finish. But, in terms of a riskier pick, he was up there. Unfortunately, he hasn't got the nod from Pep, and it meant he's come on as a substitution for these 2 games, not provided anything, and scored me 1 point again. So I think he's definitely on the watch list out. I can't have an £8.2 million asset in my squad when essentially there's so many good options, right? Both cheaper and at a similar price point to him that are just consistently returning. So he's definitely on the watch list out. Mason Mount, unfortunate not to get a return against a very easy fixture on paper. But Forest are actually unbeaten at home now for I think it's 5 or 6 games. So, well-deserved point from them. Chelsea were disappointing. Of course, I own him ready for the double. But I definitely think post the double, we're not going to be seeing much of Mason Mount in my team for very much longer. Just because Chelsea's output just doesn't look very good, right? From an eye test perspective, it wasn't there, both defensively and offensively. So, again, on the watch list out, but of course not for this week. Marcus Rashford, absolutely phenomenal performance from him in 45 minutes. Could have had a brace. Obviously ended up with one of the goals being disallowed and then, of course, a yellow card. So he swiftly went from a 14-pointer all the way down to 5 points. But still, when a man's benched on your team, of course, the most you're expecting if he comes on is potentially 1 or 2 points. And he's gone and scored a goal for us. So still happy nonetheless to have come away with 5 points with him. And then the man of the moment, really, the star obviously next to his body there, being part of Team of the Week, is pretty much fully justified. 13 points from Martin Odegaard. Once again, the man is just an absolute chance creation machine. He just, from an Arsenal attacking point of view, I think now he is an essential. I would have gone into this World Cup draft definitely looking and saying Odegaard's maybe a little bit of a risk. Martinelli and Saka definitely look like the more formidable options. I had Martinelli in my squad for God knows how long before I ended up actually saving the 0.5 million or whatever it is to go to Martin Odegaard. He's ended up scoring just a few more points than Martinelli over these couple of weeks. And it hurt. The thing that hurts the most with this differential pick is the fact that the people I want him essentially to compete against, not only at this price point, but as part of the Arsenal team, are also delivering. So Saka and Martinelli are also returning because of this man. And of course, he is returning as well. So it's fighting fire with fire. 13 points, though, still out of the 3 of them, he has done the best over these 2 weeks. So I'm very happy to own him. But yeah, I think, to be honest, he now could very much be the person you go to for Saka. Maybe you hold on to Martinelli because he still provides such good value. I just can't justify Saka's price, even at 8 odd million, if essentially Odegaard is matching him, if not getting, scoring more than him by the end of the season. So I think he's a fantastic asset to own. Really surprised that he managed to get that many points against Brighton away, but here we are. Absolutely fantastic asset. Of course, then captaincy and vice-captaincy. I had the captaincy armband on Haaland, vice on Darwin. Haaland only scoring 1 more point than Darwin in the end, only getting that 1 goal as well as the yellow card. A bit unfortunate. Maybe a bit of a bad day at the office for Haaland, but I mean, the guy scored 21 goals in 15 games. He's still a machine, an absolute beast. It's almost like an inevitability that he's going to score in every game now. Which is causing a bit of a headache for me to some degree because of the captaincy this week, once again, could end up being on him. As boring as it is, the double game week options for me are not looking promising, and I don't feel like Darwin down to Mitrovic is going to be an option now. And that kind of leads me into him really, because he scored 5 points. It could have been more. In a different day, he again scores potentially 1 or gets a brace for himself. I think we're seeing the frustration, of course, of owning him over these past few weeks, but his numbers are absolutely ridiculous. I feel like we're very close now to getting a haul. We felt the same about what Marcus Rashford was producing before. You know, it's only a couple of weeks before he hauls. It's only a couple of weeks before, and then he goes ahead and does it. I think De Bruyne may be in the similar boat as well. And I think that Darwin is potentially a hold, right? I know Liverpool don't have any double game weeks. Maybe people will argue that having a £9 million player, you know, it's only a little bit more expensive than Phil Foden, that isn't really providing as much output as he should do, isn't worth being in our team. But I just feel like I can't go without a Liverpool asset. I think I would be more tempted to do it if KDB was Salah in my team personally. So I can see why some people are doing it. But for me personally, I think I'm going to hold on to him. And then finally, the bench, really, nothing really to note here. I liked Estepinian's possible attacking output. Of course, he scored 0, conceding those 4 goals. And Brighton really do look quite leaky. So I'm not really convinced that Brighton defence was the best option, but I'm still convinced that the double is a very good double that they could potentially have. Ward, of course, scoring 3 points against Liverpool. Yes, he matched Kepa's output, but I was never going to be playing him ahead of Kepa realistically. Bueno scoring that kind of fluky 6-pointer by being substituted off before Rashford scored the goal. Congratulations to those that, of course, had the automatic substitution of him. And then Greenwood, of course, didn't play or feature for Leeds. So no missed opportunities realistically. Yes, Bueno could have come on for me. Should I have put him in the first bench slot? If Foden also didn't play, but these are if, buts and maybes. I never did that. I would have only got Estepinian 0 points if Foden didn't come on anyway. So no missed opportunities overall. So that's how the Game Week 18 went, guys. Hopefully you had a very successful week like me, and that now moves us into Game Week 19's team selection. So in goal, it's unchanged with Kepa with a double game week. Tricky fixture to begin with, and maybe Fulham away is also difficult, but I think the double game weeker is always going to get the nod ahead of the single game week, and Ward plays Fulham anyway as well. So we're basically having the same fixture. We've only just got that kind of extra thrown in bonus, really, of potentially a few more save points, right? Or even the possibility of a clean sheet, right, against City. Doubtful, but who knows? We've then got Estepinian against Everton. It looks a little bit riskier now on paper than I first thought. I say riskier, it's maybe just a little bit more of a threat now, because Everton will be definitely much more pumped up now that they got that point at the Etihad. It's at Goodison Park, which is a difficult stadium to go to at times. Maybe Brighton here don't keep the clean sheet, but I really do like Estepinian's attacking output over Bueno's, to be honest. So I feel like he gets the nod in the starting lineup for me. Trippier against Arsenal makes sense, in my opinion, over Botman. Of course, I have got that double up on Newcastle defence, which I'm not happy to play this week against that brilliant Arsenal attack. But Trippier's assist potential, his bonus point material, I just think it makes sense to be playing him ahead of Botman. And then, of course, Luke Shaw, hopefully getting the nod at left back against Bournemouth at home. Very, very strong fixture for him. So yeah, looking forward to his potential output. Then in the midfield, of course, we're unchanged once again. I do feel like this is probably going to be Phil Foden's last week in my team. Although I think it's really quite frustrating, because the time I bring him out, I feel is the time that he's probably going to get the start. He hasn't got the starts over the past 2 fixtures. And I feel like maybe Pep has just looked at these fixture lists and thought, right, I want to be playing one of my best attacking players against the most formidable opponents. And Chelsea, I say formidable, under Graham Potter, they have really not kicked into gear yet. And I feel like Foden could do some damage. So maybe it's a risk taking him out, but he's the only option I can really see to sell at this point in time. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. I'm always welcome to your ideas, of course, as well. So let me know what you think you would do with this team so far. Of course, then we've got Mason Mount, double game week, Man City again against Fulham as well. It's tricky fixtures for him. At the end of the day, I brought him in on the World Cup wildcard just because that double game week was looking, like something we had to target for him. Of course, he did already give us an attacking output in the first game week, which was great. I felt like I wanted to see more from him with Forest as well, but it is what it is. I'm still happy to own him, but I think in a couple of weeks' time, he more than likely becomes an Arsenal attacker for me, ahead of their doubles. Then, of course, Marcus Rashford. I actually feel like Marcus Rashford could definitely be a captaincy differential choice here. At Old Trafford against Bournemouth, I think this could be this could be a ridiculous scoreline if Manchester United get it right, to be honest. I really don't trust that Bournemouth are going to be able to keep us out, and especially this man. I think he's in such good form. I just think he potentially could offer, just like I say, that differential captaincy choice. A lot of people are going to probably end up going for a double game weeker in Mount, in Mitrovic, maybe even Andreas if people are feeling a little bit spicy. But for me personally, I think that the double game week options aren't looking convincing enough for me. As crazy as that sounds, because originally I had the plan of definitely captaining Mitro, but even him on penalties, it looks weak. He's still got the 4 yellow card situation. Mason Mount's output wasn't particularly very good. I don't think I can get to Havertz, or I don't think I'd even want to, or let alone captain him, to be honest, as I just feel like Chelsea's attacking threat is not good enough. And then Andreas is just, I've gone with a 3-5-2 formation. Putting Andreas in just means that I'd be playing him all the time, which I'm not convinced I want to do over these next few weeks. So I don't realistically see another captaincy choice other than Haaland or potentially Marcus Rashford. So again, let me know in the comments below what you think you would do. Kevin De Bruyne next up. Again, somebody that I think we haven't seen the true output from an FPL point of view yet. We've seen the chance creation and we've seen what he can do. It's just now a case of converting those into raw points for us. And I think against Chelsea, it could be the one. It's funny how FPL works sometimes, where the easiest fixtures on paper are the ones they struggle in, and then the most difficult fixtures is where they start returning. And I think KDB could do some damage against his former club. And then, of course, Odegaard, just Newcastle at home, yes, they are a really, really good defence, but the way that Arsenal are playing at the moment, I felt that Brighton was going to be a tricky game for them. And they just proved me completely wrong, to be honest. Scoring 4 goals, relatively comfortable as well, I might add. It's not just something that it was kind of fluke or Brighton's mistakes. This was Arsenal's free-flowing attack really kicking into gear, and I think that this man is the cogwheel amongst it, to be honest. And I really like his style. I think he's a fantastic asset to own for FPL as well, so very, very happy with him. And then, of course, my strike force of Erling Haaland and Darwin. So, yes, I'm probably going to end up giving Darwin another chance. Maybe some people would disagree with me, but again, I still feel like there's a potential haul in him somewhere. And later down the line, when Tottenham's fixtures probably get a little bit better, I more than likely move him to Harry Kane if I can. It just depends on money, realistically, but that's more than likely what will end up happening. And maybe even KDB turns into Salah and I move into a more of freemium type draft moving forward. But at the moment, I'm happy to own Darwin. He's frustrating. As frustrating as it is to own him, I still think we're going to see some output from him going forward. And then, of course, Erling Haaland against Chelsea. The man is inevitable. Like I say, with Chelsea, they didn't look that great against Forest this evening. And to be honest, they haven't looked convincing from a defensive point of view for pretty much the whole season. Even while Potter has taken them over, I thought that would have improved them slightly, but they just don't seem to have found their footing yet, even post-World Cup break. So I still think that Erling Haaland could produce, and maybe that's why he is still that captaincy shout, even above those double game week players. So that's why, moving into the captaincy and vice-captaincy, the armband is still on Haaland. As boring as it is, I will probably change this, but the best I've been able to do so far is just move the vice-captaincy to Mason Mount. I just don't think I can justify putting it on him. I don't think he's good enough to be able to warrant such good output over what Erling Haaland can do. He's not on any other set pieces than... I mean, he does take free kicks, to be fair, in terms of deep ones that go as crosses. He takes corners. There's definitely the assist potential there. But I think, Erling Haaland, in terms of his overall threat and output, he makes the most sense, even against a formidable opponent. Well, I say formidable. Is I'd say an average opponent in Chelsea at the moment. The only thing that I'm really kind of looking at is on a week where we're going to probably see a little bit of a split captaincy in terms of a lot of players. Maybe I just go against the grain a little bit further and go with someone like Marcus Rashford. But I'm not convinced yet. So tune into the live stream tomorrow if you'd like to know exactly where I end up. But that's where my head's at the moment. I think I'm not going to be captaining a double game weeker. And then we go into the bench as well. Ward against Fulham. Like I say, he's never going to get the nod ahead of Kepa as he's got 2 games. Greenwood is the first option. I think that's purely down to the fact that Bueno against Villa, I think realistically, as a West Midlands derby and the situation that Villa find themselves in, they're on the up. They're doing well under Emery. And as well as that, Wolves as kind of, they're in a really bad position at the moment. I think they're going to struggle here to keep a clean sheet. So he gets the nod as the second bench option. Greenwood may end up not getting any minutes whatsoever, right, against West Ham. But if that's the case, that's the case. Hopefully I don't need to get into the bench cover too far anyway, but that's the bench order I've gone with. And of course then Botman last but not least against Arsenal. So that's how we got on in game week 18. This is how we're lined up for game week 19. And as mentioned, we have got a couple of player options that I'm looking at as possible transfers. Now, this may surprise some of you because I think a lot of content creators today and tomorrow will probably be talking about double game week, double game week, double game week. And to be honest with you, I was definitely one of those individuals on the run up to this game week. I was mentioning Mitrovic. Of course, Mason Mount is in the mix. Havertz as a differential. Sterling could be thrown into the mix now after getting his goal this evening. Although, again, I'm not convinced too much with Chelsea's attack. You could potentially throw Andreas in there for some people. Although I think if you're set up with Andreas in your team, you're not going to be looking to transfer him in. It's just somebody that you started with in terms of your World Cup wild card, right? So I don't feel like they're going to be options for me. I personally cannot get to Mitrovic. I don't see that Darwin downgrading to Mitrovic in terms of the money is worth it. I don't think that I want to captain Mitrovic, especially after his penalty miss. And I will reiterate again that he is absolutely woeful at them, regardless of being on them. I prefer actually Pereira to be on them, to be honest. This is why I've landed on these two individuals. I think I'm going to be ignoring the double game weekers. I didn't like them on paper anyway, overall. And after what I've seen this week, it's convinced me even more that I want to stay away from those individuals and potentially look at a few differentials. Now, Rodrigo is somebody that did impress us at the beginning of the season. Somebody that I did have in my squad, just as he went and got his shoulder injury, unfortunately. Just as he hit that run of form, he literally was on the pitch for 20 minutes and, of course, then dislocated his shoulder, which was very, very unfortunate. So as quick as he was in my team, he was out of it. So I never really got a good run of form and fixtures for him. But I think these next 3 games are definitely that perfect storm. We saw a 13-pointer from him in game week 16 prior to the World Cup break, which I think some people may have, of course, forgotten, or it's maybe gone a little bit of a miss. His XG and his stats are absolutely unreal, to be honest. And I think Leeds are a team that really are going to be trying to prove a point over these next 3 fixtures, where they need to be getting some points on the board to keep them well away from that relegation zone. And West Ham in particular are a team that are right in and amongst it with them. So they're going to need to prove something here. And at Ellen Road, I think West Ham could really struggle. And I feel Rodrigo will be in the thick of it. So he's in the mix as a potential transfer in. Let me know your thoughts, guys, on him, because I think he is a differential. He's only 6.3% owned at time of recording. I think he could go on and do really well. And of course, it's worth noting at this price point, over the next 3 weeks, we're probably getting some kind of information that game week 21 time will be a double game week potentially for Brighton assets. Maybe even Arsenal as well. I'd be more than happy to go with a little bit of a punt on these guys just based on their fixtures and then quickly move them on to an Arsenal attacker. Of course, because the obvious move here would be maybe Foden to Martinelli or Saka. But I just feel like maybe that's just, again, too obvious. I feel like maybe I should just attack a bit of a differential just to continue on this momentum train that I've got in terms of those green arrows. I just feel like this is the way that I'm going to go. And then, of course, Buendia, the second option here, is a little bit knee-jerk, really, based on the output from Spurs. But he seems to be getting quite consistent minutes. Of course, Coutinho is coming back from injury still, so he's going to be getting reduced minutes or being eased into the matches. And we find that this man's pretty much in the mix a lot from a creative midfielder point of view. And I think that he offers a tremendous amount of value. Again, he's a price point that I can easily move with the amount of money that I've got in my bank to easily move to an Arsenal attacker if I would like to, or a Brighton attacker in Trossard or McAllister or someone like that, should we get those announcements. But a Wolves at home, like I say, it's a West Midlands derby. Wolves are struggling. I feel like this potentially could be a little bit of an open game, and maybe Buendia can exploit that midfield tremendously well. Leeds at home, then another team again. It's a home fixture. We've had history between these two clubs before. Potentially he could do some damage there. And then, of course, Southampton away as well. So 3 very, very good fixtures for Villa. And again, as short term as I've mentioned on this particular slide in front of us, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't hold them long term as well. It's just, this is the reasoning as to why I'm thinking go for something a little bit different over these next few weeks once again. It's worked in my favour for the most part since the wild card. Why not just continue on that trend? Maybe I've lost my mind. Maybe it is just those New Year vibes, New Year, new method of playing. But I really do feel like I want to target fixtures over just double game weekers or be blinded by that. To be honest, because the statistics and the players that are playing for these squads that are actually doubling in Fulham and Chelsea, I just don't feel like there's assets that I want to really exploit. So that's where my head's at, guys. I hope you found the content useful. Maybe you think I'm absolutely mad. Let me know in the comments below on who you're targeting, your reasons why. And like I say, I'll be doing a live stream tomorrow afternoon, 3 p.m, 1 hour before the deadline hits at 4 p.m. English time. So feel free to join me on that. As I mentioned, I may end up locking in a Rashford captaincy. There could be a Phil Foden to Rodrigo or Buendia move happening live on stream. So join me for that if you feel like you can. And of course, if you're new to the channel, then consider subscribing to me as well. Hopefully 2023 is going to be an absolute massive year of growth for the channel, and you can help support that. So that would be very much appreciated. And of course, if you did enjoy the content as well, one final time, guys, smash that like button below. So hopefully I'll see you in the live stream tomorrow, guys. If not, I'll be putting plenty of content out there on a review of Game Week 19 and ahead of Game Week 20. So hopefully see you in a video soon, guys. Take care for now. I hope you had a very, very good new year, and let's make 2023 a good one. Take care, guys.